This is Crime Traveler from the Murder Mind, a journey back to the scenes of history's most haunting crimes, where every street holds a secret and every shadow has a story. It's February 24th, 1986, Los Angeles, California. Not far from where I'm standing right now, a clear, cool morning in the San Fernando Valley. Sherri Rasmussen, a 29-year-old nurse, doesn't show up for work one morning at Glendale Adventist Medical Center. Unusual for someone known for never missing a shift. By late afternoon, her husband, John Rutten, comes home to find their condo on Balboa Boulevard in disarray. Glass shattered, the living room ransacked, and Sherri lying on the floor, barely recognizable. She's been beaten and shot 3 times. There's blood everywhere, a broken vase near her body, and get this, a bite mark on her forearm. John collapses by his wife. His wife of just 3 months, gone. Detectives quickly learned that Sherri was the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. Director of nursing at 29, brilliant, respected, and driven. Her parents, Nels and Loretta Rasmussen, describe her as the daughter every parent dreams of. Married just months earlier to John, a young engineer at a computer firm. They bought the condo together, a new life, a new chapter for them both. But now, it's a crime scene. At first glance, it looks like a burglary gone wrong. The sliding glass door is shattered as if someone broke in. The room's torn apart, VCR and stereo equipment stacked near the door. Sherri's purse and car, a BMW, are missing. I've worked homicides where homeowners confront a burglar in their house and the burglar panics and actually kills the homeowner. Looking at this case, I can understand why those detectives thought this was a burglary gone bad. Detectives theorized there was most likely 2 assailants. They broke in, and during the robbery, they were surprised by Sherri. She fought back, and during the struggle, they killed her. The duo fled, one in their own vehicle and the other in Sherri's car. But something feels staged. Sherri's jewelry box wasn't touched. And why bring a gun to a burglary? In my experience at crime scenes, when I've seen what looks like a potential burglary gone bad, I have to consider what was taken and what was not. And sometimes what's not taken is really the biggest clue. And the violence inflicted on Sherri, it's over the top. The autopsy would show that Sherri was involved in a hell of a fight with her attacker. Not to mention 3 gunshot wounds at close range to the chest from a .38 caliber weapon. This wasn't a quick home invasion, this was rage. Given the amount of violence inflicted on Sherri Rasmussen, that tells me this crime was personal. It wasn't a burglary. Jewelry was left at the scene, and by all accounts, stereo equipment was left at the front door. And then considering that Sherri's purse was found nearby, her BMW not far away with the keys in it, obviously that was not the proceeds of a burglary gone wrong. It's like the only thing the robbers took was Sherri's life. But the botched burglary theory seems to have some teeth. Not too long after the murder, police are alerted to another burglary just blocks away from Sherri's condo. In that case, a woman returned home to find 2 men robbing her place. As they fled, one of the men pointed a gun at the homeowner. Due to the proximity and MO, detectives believe that these 2 men could be Sherri's killers. The victim describes the 2 men as Hispanic. Sketches are circulated throughout the neighborhood, but no arrests are made. For Sherri's family, the burglary gone all the way wrong theory never sat right. They tell police about a female nurse Sherri had problems with at work. Sherri claimed that the woman was harassing her for not getting a job promotion. Sherri's father tells detectives that she had complained about another woman. someone who had been following her, showing up at her home, and even confronting her at work. According to Nels Rasmussen, the woman is John Rutten's ex-girlfriend, but he doesn't know her name. Nels insists his daughter told him she feared for her safety. In the end, detectives dismissed the idea of either woman being a suspect in the case. Sometimes detectives get what's called tunnel vision, where they start to work a theory, look at a possible motive, and solely focus on that alone. To solve a homicide case, all detectives need to have an open mind. They have to consider all possibilities. To focus solely on one avenue, one theory, one train of thought towards evidence is dangerous. That's where evidence is missed, opportunities are missed, and potential suspects are missed. So detectives do their thing. They dust for prints, collect the bullet casings, and take swabs from the bite mark on Sherri's arms, a detail no one realizes will become critical decades later. In 1986, DNA testing was in its infancy forensically. They were only doing ABO blood typing, and not until modern times, in advances in forensics and DNA technology, was DNA being used to actually solve murders. Every trail leads nowhere. Within months, the case goes cold. Years pass by and different investigators work the case. There were things about that crime scene that didn't make sense. Why stack stolen electronics neatly near the door, then leave them behind? It felt like someone who knew her, someone who knew the layout of the home, and someone she wasn't afraid to open the door for. For more than 20 years, the case sat in the cold case storage. The evidence, blood samples, fingerprints, and that bite mark swab preserved but untouched. Then in 2004, the LAPD cold case unit began re-examining old homicide files. Cold case detectives pulled the Rasmussen case. DNA testing had advanced dramatically since 1986, enough to revisit that one small piece of evidence, the bite mark. When the DNA lab processed the sample, they expected to find a male profile, maybe one of the burglary suspects. Instead, the results stunned them. Get this, it was a female DNA profile. You'd think that revelation would change their thinking about the case, but it didn't. Detectives still believe that the murder was a burglary turned sideways, just that the suspects were now a man and a woman. They do some digging, but nothing comes up. And once again, the case goes cold. In 2009, 23 years after Sherri's murder, a detective is giving the case file one last look before sending it to the police archives. He believes the evidence at the crime scene, including the DNA profile, paints a totally different picture of what happened. And now it seems murder was the motive. That changed everything. The burglary theory collapsed overnight. This wasn't a random break-in, it was personal. As a homicide detective, we're trained to look at the victim, start with victimology, who was closest with the victim, and work outwards. Specifically starting with the victim in victimology is Homicide 101. Had they done that in 1986, this case likely would have been solved a lot sooner. They look at Sherri's family and friends who all provide a DNA sample for comparison. They're all quickly cleared. Then they focus on the former co-worker who allegedly harassed Sherri. Detectives end up getting a DNA sample from her, but test results show she's not the killer. Finally, there's one more person to look at. Someone who had been in the file since day one, mentioned by Sherri's father, but ignored for decades. You see, back in 1986, before the murder, Sherri had told friends about an unsettling encounter. A woman had shown up at her office, an ex-girlfriend of her husband, John Rutten. This woman confronted Sherri, accused her of stealing John, and even followed her home. Remember, Sherri's father didn't know her name. Detectives contact John Rutten about the ex, and that's when they learn her name, Stephanie Lazarus. But they also discover something shocking. Stephanie Lazarus is a veteran detective with LAPD. You see, she had dated John years before he married Sherri and never fully let go. Could this detective be Sherri Rasmussen's killer? Personally, in my career, I've never worked a case where a police officer was the prime suspect. And considering that Stephanie Lazarus was one of their own, this had to have been one of the most difficult investigations these detectives ever had to conduct. And if it was me working the case, regardless if my suspect was a police officer, I would still work the case as hard as any other case to ensure I found justice for my victim. In 2009, LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division sets up a covert operation. Undercover officers follow Lazarus to a Costco in Simi Valley and collect a discarded cup from a food court table. The crime lab confirms the match, an identical match to the DNA left on Sherri's body. Within days, Stephanie Lazarus is arrested inside of LAPD headquarters. She's read her Miranda rights in the building where she once worked. Her colleagues are stunned. During the trial, prosecutors laid out the timeline. Lazarus, still obsessed with John, confronted Sherri at the condo while her husband was at work. A violent struggle ensued. Sherri fought hard and was hit by Lazarus before being beaten and shot with what prosecutors believe was Stephanie's own LAPD-issued weapon. Remember those .38 caliber bullets? Well, those were the same type of ammunition used by LAPD police officers back in 1986. And get this, Lazarus reported her gun stolen not long after the murder. The crime scene was staged to look like a burglary and the case buried as just that for 23 years. In 2012, Stephanie Lazarus was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison. I've seen a lot of murders, crimes of rage, passion, greed, but this one hits different. A detective, someone sworn to uphold the law, killed an innocent woman, then watched her own colleagues chase ghosts for decades. The case is a reminder that sometimes the most convincing red herrings aren't accidents. They're created by someone who knows exactly how investigations work. And it's proof that no matter how much time passes, the truth doesn't stay buried forever. It just waits for the right detective and the right DNA test to bring it back to light. I'm Vince Velazquez, and this is the Murder Mind Crime Traveler. Subscribe to the Murder Mind and hit that like button so you never miss an episode. And check out our other videos where I take you inside my own homicide investigations. Until then, keep your mind on murder.